Welcome to the 8th lesson of the Reflect Academy series. Today's exciting because we're moving into a bit more of the practical information that you're going to be able to more quickly and easily apply to your actual note-taking practice. And so today we're going to be talking about the art of daily journaling. And I'm so excited to talk about this one because it's really what made note-taking stick for me. And it's actually a format that I have been using accidentally for most of my life, even before I started using a digital note-taking tool. So I'm going to run through what is daily journaling. I'm going to talk about the benefits of it and why you should do it. I'm going to show you exactly how to integrate daily journaling into your note-taking systems. And then I'm just going to show you a bit of a demo about what my daily journal looks like. So I actually took my real notes from yesterday and stripped out some of the sensitive information so that I can show you what it actually looks like, because I think that is easier than just listening to me kind of describe what the system is. But first I will describe it. So let's talk about what is daily journaling. So daily journaling, in short, is whatever it wants you to be. Like, there's no set context that you need to do within daily journaling. All daily journaling refers to is that you have a dedicated note or perhaps section of an ongoing note set up for each day. And that daily note becomes the home base of your brain and your life. It's where everything is based out of. It's where everything goes into by default. It's where your lists go into, your ideas, your to-do lists, your daily logs if you keep it, meeting notes, everything, anything can go in your daily note. And so I'm not going to tell you exactly what to put in your daily note. I will give you some ideas, but you're going to need to find the system and whatever content that you want to do for your note-taking practice. And that's what you're going to put into your own daily note. But just to give you a really quick idea, and I'll keep the actual demo for the end, but by daily note, I just mean this system here where you can see Reflect does this by default, where there's a new dedicated note for each and every day, and it goes on to infinity. I can literally scroll to infinity. I can go years later in my calendar here and click into a day and, put this in 2025. I can also go back to infinity for the record. I can go all the way back in time past 2023 into 2022. So in Reflect, it's a dedicated note, but in reality, this is kind of one ongoing note, and there's just a new section for each day. And so we're going to talk about how to apply this both in Reflect, which is a tool that has it built in, but I'm also going to tell you an easy way to do it if you are using a tool or even a physical notebook. So let me go back into my Academy notes here, and let's kind of talk about some of the benefits of doing this. So why should you have a new note for each day? Why should you take notes out of a daily note each day? Well, one is that it's going to reduce your stress and anxiety, and it's going to give you more mental peace. Well, why is that? It's because you're taking off the cognitive load of having to kind of record everything, remember everything, where to organize things. It gives you that peace of mind that you have a home base. It's sort of the same feeling when you are traveling and, maybe you're staying in an Airbnb for a month and you go back into it and it's kind of your safe space. Or even like when you get back from a trip and you enter your house and it feels good. That's sort of what coming into the daily note each morning feels like. And so it also helps you be mindful, adds mindfulness, about how you spend your time and your energy. Because if you use the daily note, it becomes very, very clear how you're spending your days and what you're spending your time doing, where your mental energy is. And so doing note-taking off of the daily note format, doing daily journaling like this, just gives you a much more rich, clear picture of your life and what's happening in it, and also your current state. It also has some functional benefits like enhancing your memory and recall. We talked previously about the importance of associating notes with time and space. Well, this is one of the easiest way to do it. Just take notes out of a daily journal format. Make sure that you're taking notes out of a daily note. It's going to help your memory and recall. It's also going to help your emotional processing because this context, as we talked about before, helps reduce your bias. It makes it easier to include context. And there's even context without you having to do anything because you just know when exactly things happened. So, if you maybe promised something to your boss or your partner and you might feel like it is the recent thing that happened, but actually it's been months, you can kind of go look that up. It's going to make you more productive and it's going to make you a more efficient thinker. So that's kind of connected to what we were talking about before, where this is your organization system. There's no folders you need to worry about. You don't need to worry about where to put the piece of information. You can just recklessly record information and move very fast. And that helps you be more productive and just helps you think faster and better. But finally, I really think I emphasize the cognitive load, because I think having no friction when you are recording your thoughts and ideas is one of the most important parts of note-taking. And above everything else, I think the daily notes format is the structure that really, really makes this click for most people. So if you've tried a note-taking habit before, if you've tried taking notes every day, try it with the daily format. If you failed before, it's not your fault. There's a lot of terrible formats out there, and most of them require a ton of upfront work, and organization and whatnot. Daily notes asks none of that. Daily journaling just asks you to journal out of a note each day that is dedicated for that day. That's it, and you will get all of these benefits. Okay, so let's now talk about the interesting part. So let's talk about how to integrate daily journaling into your note-taking system, and then we can kind of show you what it looks like. So first of all, you're going to need to set up your system, and that is really, really easy. The easiest way to do it is to use a tool like Reflect, and there's a bunch of others that now match this daily format. Again, that just means that when you click on the daily note, there's a dedicated note for each day. Very, very simple concept. But if you don't use a tool that has this built in, you can do it yourself. And just, if you're using like Apple Notes or Evernote or something that does not have a daily note, you can just create a note each day, and it's just one little extra step to create the note and put the date right at the top. Additionally, you could use a physical notebook. So this is actually how I started taking daily notes accidentally. I didn't used to call it this, but I just used a physical notebook. And each day I would just open up the book, and that would be sort of my home base for the day, where I would keep my lists and everything. And so for me, transferring this to the digital note-taking app was just, there's no friction at all. It was only magic, because now it was just much faster, much easier, and I could go back and record and index it. So that's the first thing. Decide on your tool that you're going to use for the system. And then you're going to want to decide on the format, or even just what you'd like to record. So again, this is going to depend on the people. Some people like to do a lot of things like reflections, meditations, thinking. A lot of people like me are big lists people. So I do a lot of to-do lists. I do a lot of action lists, priority lists. I have a ton of lists in my note. Other people will record information primarily. So they will save things from, like articles online, from books they're reading. Some people have nothing but meetings, and so their notes are just meeting notes all day. This is entirely going to depend on you, and it doesn't have to be the same every day. But the reason I put this in as a step to actually think about is because it's important that when you sit down each day, you have a starting point. In fact, once you realize what you want as your starting point, I recommend using a tool that has templates, because then you can kind of go in here, and if you have a habit list, you can put that in there. If you have a to-do list, you can divide it into multiple projects so that you can just call on this and it pulls up the template each morning, and you can just start writing your to-do list for each project. If you like to do a daily reflection, make sure that you have the template laid out so that you don't have to worry about the organization of it. You can just start immediately doing this. So that's one great way to do it. And then also, you want to make it a habit. So once you've kind of figured out what you're going to record, you are going to have to try a little bit to start making it a habit. And that just means when you wake up each day, open up your daily note for that day and start writing. It does not matter what you start with. All that matters is that you open the daily note and start recording. Now, speaking of recording, another hack for you here, start taking daily notes with an audio note. That means you don't have to sit down and type or worry about organizing it all. I could just come into my daily note for Reflect, click on my microphone up top, and I can just start recording my notes, whether it's the daily reflection or a to-do list or even just a random thought that I have. And I can pause it and it will transcribe it and add it to my daily note. Oh, I'm in October. This is not today. This is in more than a year from now. So it won't appear in this note, but it will in the daily note when I actually show it to you in just a moment. So make it a habit. Really try hard for like a week, 2 weeks to just sit down. If at first it feels like a menial task where there's not much of a point to it, just give it some time. That might mean you need to tweak your format a little bit. And then as a bonus point, start backlinking along the way. I know that this is not about backlinking. This is about daily journaling, but I did want to mention this because when you pair backlinking with your daily journaling, that means you're also now network note-taking. That means you're going to get this is probably going to look weird because it's my demo brain, so it's pretty small, but you'll get this nice map of all of your notes linked together. And so when you start backlinking, that's the easiest way to start network note taking. I put this in as a bonus because the really important thing is just that you start taking notes out of the daily note each day. Backlinking you can add in the future. It's great if you start doing it now, but I don't want to not start taking daily notes because they're worried about backlinking. So I don't want to introduce 2 new concepts to you right now. If you watched the previous video on backlinking, maybe you've mastered that and you're already good to go. But if you haven't, just focus on the daily journaling and then add backlinking in later. Okay, so now let's do the really fun part. I'm going to show you what my daily notes look like. So what I have done is so this is my audio note from today. So I actually took my notes from my daily journal from my real brain that I did yesterday. And I'm just going to show you what my daily journal actually looks like. Now, again, before I go into this, I want to give a huge caveat. This is not me instructing you to make yours look like this. But I think that if you see what I have decided to put in my daily journal and my daily note each day, a couple things might click for people and you might see something and say, oh yeah, that's obviously something that I would like in mine. And I really think that it is just taking one of these concepts and, kind of falling in love with it and realizing that's the point of daily journaling. And so I'm actually going to move this daily reflection to the top. Yesterday, whoops, I didn't do that very well. Yesterday, I did it a little bit later in the day. So actually, I guess for the sake of this being my real journal, I should leave it there. But usually I do my daily reflection at the first part of my morning. And the reason that I wanted to mention this is because that gives me something very calming and enjoyable to do in my daily notes first thing every morning. So before I open any messages, any email or whatnot, I will sit down and I will do my daily reflection. And it looks like this. I did cut a couple things out because I do make these very personal, but for my reflection, I do a reframing exercise. And again, this is all in a template, so I don't have to write all this out. I first kind of say a negative thought or something that's, bugging me out. I force myself to reframe it in a way that is positive or that it might not be a problem. I usually do 3 to 5 things that I'm thankful for, some gratitude journaling. I list a top priority and a top affirmation for the day. So my reframing was about, not sleeping. And then I reminded myself that I actually usually am really productive after not sleeping. It's a bit counterintuitive. So there's actually not a huge reason to worry about that. I wrote down some things that I'm thankful for. Some are personal, some are work related, some are health related. Yesterday, I did a big content day for Reflect. So that was kind of my top priority, top focus of the day. And I always like to include just like a little pick me up, a little piece of encouragement, because I didn't sleep. I just felt grumpy at the morning yesterday. And I was kind of like being hard on myself for feeling grumpy and realized that was reasonable. So this one's really mental healthy, but I think it's a great one to start off with in the morning because it's something that I look forward to. And if the first thing I do is just writing out my to-do list for the day, I'm not sure that I'm really going to look forward to opening it. So that is a good trick for just kind of looking forward to your daily journaling. Okay, so now let's talk about the primary thing that I use my daily notes for now, which is to-do lists. So you can see here that I have 3 categories. I've got personal, I've got reflect, and I've got startup cookie. So these are my 3 projects that I would have task lists under. So I usually put personal up front. I'm not sure why. I just kind of like to structure it that way. Maybe because it's usually the least items. So this one, my daily reflection, which I did down here, because backlink the daily reflection, I don't backlink the word here. I had to go buy a replacement key for the topper on my truck yesterday. I had to deal with my health insurance. I didn't complete this one. I was supposed to go pick up a Starlink from my brother-in-law and return something to Whole Foods. And I did complete something for my agency taxes. So that's what personal stuff looks like. Reflect, I'm not going to go through all these because it's a little bit longer, but it's a mix of responding to emails and messages, doing the Academy video. And then you'll see I didn't accomplish a couple things that I wanted to. So I wanted to put in some custom prompts into the spreadsheet. I didn't get to that. So now today, I know that I need to do that. And I also didn't get to my Reddit and Twitter search. So I will do that today as well. You should also note that I backlink all of these. So again, it's an entity. And so link it. I also backlinked personal just in case I ever want to review all the things that I had in one place. Here, this is a drop-down daily goals. So I will typically write in my daily goals for Reflect and Startup Cookie. I usually won't for personal. And that's one of the first things I'll do in the morning. And then I just have this to reference to. So it's not an action list. That's why that's a drop-down bullet. Then startup cookie, same thing. It's just my to-do list for my agency work there, doing content for clients and whatnot. And just like in the previous version, I have not checked off the things that I did not get to. So now I know to do that today. So those are to-do lists, pretty basic. I guess I should also mention that a lot of people, instead of doing a top-down to-do list, will do a bottom-up daily log. And that might look like something that just says, I don't know, like 6 a.m. did my daily reflection. And instead of a task list, you're just marking the things you do. But I'm a to-do list person, so I like to go from the top down. Okay, now I already did my reflection, so let's now talk about a meeting note. So on Monday, we have a reflect all hands. Now, this meeting is typically just a discussion one. We're really not doing a lot of planning. We're more just checking in on what's happening, what we're doing in the week. And so that's why I do not have this backlink, reflect all hands. I should actually probably backlink reflect, but I already did on this note. So the reason I'm not creating a dedicated note for this is because there's not really any evergreen content that I care about saving for all hands. Whereas, for something like a growth check-in with Alex, I might want a dedicated note for that because I might want to put in our growth goals and our initiatives. But here, I just took some notes underneath this. So again, just like in my to-do list, I've got my weekly goals that are under a toggled bullet here because that's something we all go around and say on all hands. And then if there's any notes, I actually just made these up because I didn't write anything on the one yesterday, but I wanted to show you that like if there's something that I wanted to note down, I would just jot it quickly here. So for example, we're working on a new tasks feature. So I'll say hold off on the launch because we're still testing that. And instead I'll just keep playing with workflows. And this one did actually was discussed. We talked about kind of like a big influencer channel. So I need to jot down some ideas for that. And that's pretty much it. That's my meeting notes for that meeting. The reason you're not seeing the other, if you look on the side here, I had 2 other meetings that day. I'm not including those because those have sensitive information, but the structure looked pretty much the same. Okay, now this section doesn't have anything underneath it. Actually, let me paste this because if I did have an audio note, it would just look like this. Obviously, that's the nonsense audio note I just recorded for this video, but I take a ton of audio memos. There's usually a section with the audio memos backlinked and I can toggle it up and down. And finally, the thing that usually appears in my daily note is saved things online. It's not always a tweet. Sometimes it's saved links, maybe a YouTube video, something I want to watch or read. Today, it was one of my favorite people I follow on Twitter. They were talking about kind of cooking with animal protein fat versus plant fats and whatnot, and how this might relate to obesity. And I thought that was very interesting. I thought that was kind of an interesting take on the whole seed oil trend. So I saved it. I saved that through our Chrome extension, by the way, and it just appears automatically like this. I didn't have to do any of this. This was all automatic. And like I said, sometimes there will be, instead of tweet, it'll say links, and it'll have the links I've saved. Sometimes I'll put in things manually, and I won't use like a snippet. It'll just be a thing that I'll save. I guess just a couple things to mention too. If I have, just like a quick idea or something, I might just say idea for, back with that, reflect, and then I will just say, I don't know what the idea is. Something. Sorry, I don't have one off the cuff there. And then what I will do is I'll use this as my quick capture mechanism. And then later I'll actually take this and I'll move it into my pinned ideas note if I think it's a good one so that I can save it for later. So just another thing you can add in there. Again, everyone's daily notes are going to look different. At some point, I actually want to feature some notes from like founders or people just to kind of show what other people's daily journal looks like besides just mine. So that's an example. And that's pretty much it for this lesson. So I think, it's a pretty simple concept, but I wanted to dig into each of these components because it's so fundamental to both building a note-taking habit and just getting more out of your note-taking. It's also more enjoyable. So this is really one of the most important concepts in this series. If you're someone who has struggled with note-taking, this might single-handedly help you more than anything else. So if you're not yet using a daily note-taking or a daily journaling format, try it. You're going to love it. It's really the most logical way to take notes in a manner that fits and meshes in with your mind perfectly.